Good morning everyone. Okay, so I have made a few different type of diesel heater installation videos, none of which I'm happy with, and all of which cause, let's say, difference of opinion when it comes to fitting these heaters. You can get absolutely criticised for anything on YouTube or online. But the diesel heater world, the Chinese diesel heater world, there is so many know-it-alls out there that are very quick to tell you that you've done something wrong. And it's a little tiring, I must say. I've now installed probably about 30 of these heaters for lots of people, and I've not known one to not work. You know, they just behave perfectly. I've had mine in my Iveco now for years. Works every single time, without question. So as I said, I've made a lot of videos about these Chinese diesel heaters, and anyone who knows me and knows my channel knows how much I go on about these blimmin' heaters. So this is going to be my last video on Chinese diesel heaters. So this might be a long video, but I'm going to try and make this my very best and informative and step-by-step installation guide to installing these heaters. So let's get into it. So you can get these heaters anywhere, and the kit is pretty much the same wherever you get them from. There are a few differences, a few extra bits you can get in certain kits, different fuel lines, but pretty much they've all worked. Every kit that I've installed, they've just always worked. Usually I would fit the supplied diesel tank, but in these Ducatos, the inspection tank for the fuel is just underneath this passenger seat. So it's very easy to tap into the fuel line of the actual van, so I'm not sure, but I may go for that. These are your Chinglish instructions. They're actually a lot better than they used to be, as in the translation. But so in the kit is this. The first thing you pull out is a diesel tank. This is a 10-litre standalone diesel tank. Now the pros and cons about using it. Pros is you can use red diesel for it, which is much cheaper. If you use the diesel tank of the van to fuel your heater, then you can't use red diesel for it. But yeah, so I've always installed the supplied tanks. Got one in my van. Next box we've got here is this box here, which has got the ducting for the air into the van. The black pipe there is ducting for the combustion side, which goes underneath the van next to the exhaust, which is the metal one. We've got the base plate here. And we've got the silencer muffler back box for the exhaust. In this box is the heater itself. This is a 5 kilowatt version, or they say 5 to 8, but there's this is the pump, fuel pump in here, and this is the display, which comes with the little remote control key fob on there. And now in the kit, you've got the wiring loom, Jubilee clips, which need to be replaced. These big ones aren't so bad for the ducting, but these are useless for the exhaust. You can get away with them for the combustion air pipe, but for the exhaust, we're going to be replacing these. These just are useless. You want the exhaust connection to be spot on. These are there's some self-tapping screws in here and some little Jubilee clip things for the fuel line. This is a rubber holder for the fuel pump. Fuel line. Regarding fuel line, I've got the rigid nylon fuel line. Some of these kits come with the green flexible hose. Don't worry if yours has come with it, because I have installed loads with the green flexible hose. My Iveco has got the green flexible hose. They work absolutely fine. There'll be so many people online that say, oh, you shouldn't use that hose, it's rubbish, it's flexible, you should always use this stuff. Don't worry if you haven't got this stuff. Honestly, this stuff is probably tougher, a bit harder. I've got the green hose in my Iveco, it works just fine. Honestly, there's a lot of people out there that tell you how to do these things, but I'm gonna go on my experience and say that it's all fine. Don't worry if you've got the green hose, I use it. So yeah, you got the fuel filter, the fuel line, and this is to connect your fuel lines to different kinds of things, pump and the heater, etc. This is a air filter for the combustion air pipe underneath. Again, the other day I had a bit of it. Well, so I had someone arguing with me saying, no, it's not an air filter, it's a muffler to stop the noise. Whatever it is, it's a filter. It's got a mesh in there, a gauze in there to stop your heater sucking things in. I think it's a filter. Again, people online. And this is the the vent to bring your heat into the van. So that is everything. Now, I have installed a lot of these heaters and I have fitted them in various places, but I can tell you now, I really think I know the best location for your diesel heater. I really believe it. And that is as far away from your bed as possible. Behind the driver's seat is my preferred. I really think it's the best, and I'll explain why it's the best location. Firstly, it's not near your bed, so it's not as noisy for when you're sleeping. Second of all, the exhaust goes through the floor here and pumps out that side of the van. It's not near your sliding door, so the fumes come in when the door's open. It's that side. It's away from the, well, you've got a window here, but if it's shut, the fumes just go out that way. You've often got the door open and shut. You don't want fumes coming in. And also, the fuel pump. The noisiest things about these heaters are the fan noise and the pump ticking noise. And now, I see so many people mounting all this stuff underneath the bed, the ticket, and in the van. Oh, this annoys me. Maybe I should make this video because it annoys me. The pump is probably the thing that annoys people the most, is the ticking. So mount that as far away from the bed as possible, because that's where you're sleeping. You don't want to be hearing ticking all night. In my Iveco, it is a long van, so the heater and the fuel pump are quite far away from my bed. But I'm going to do exactly the same thing in this van, down here. And the fuel pump must be mounted underneath the van, outside. Do not have it in your van. It is noisy. It can be noisy. Some are noisier than others. That ticking will drive you crazy if it's inside the van. No matter how much you cover it up or hang it by zip ties, there's so many different tips to try and silence these pumps, but the ticking can be noisy. So mount it as far away from the sleeping area as you can. So the heater is going to go here. The pipes are going to go through. The induction is going to go to the front of the van. The exhaust is going to go to the back of the van, pointing out the side, hopefully. And the pump will be underneath there as well. The fuel filter and the pump will be underneath there. Just trust me, it's the best location for it. A lot of people try and mount them underneath the front seats because there's often space under there, but then you've got your fuel tank of the van is usually under there. Don't mount them under your bed at the back. I'm not looking forward to the comments of this video. Right, so this sofa I've nearly finished. It's got a clad and paint in the front. This is exactly the same sofa setup I've got in my Iveco. Just little space here is going to be for my heater. This is going to be for a toilet, and this is all storage under here. So yeah, this is the location for the heater. I have already checked underneath, and it's quite difficult in the Ducato, in this van, to find a nice spot in that corner for the pipes to come through. But there is space for it, but we're going to have to be very precise with our drilling and our measuring to make sure it's in the right spot. So yeah, the heater is going to sit here somewhere, and they'll be cladded on the front here with the vent in here, and you can aim the heat so it comes up here and warms the van. These heaters take me about 4 hours, sometimes 3.5, sometimes 5 hours, but yeah, 4 hours on average I install these heaters. That's if we know exactly where they're going and all the kit's supplied and it works first time, which it usually does. This video is probably going to take me a couple of days because I'm filming it and it takes so much longer, and I want to get this done step by step. I want to make this my most informative video ever, and I'm going to be trying to tap into the fuel line of the van probably. So, never done that before, but I've seen it done a lot. I'm sure it'll be okay. So this is the base plate. Now you can get the turret style base plates. I'll put a picture of this. I'll put a picture of that on the screen now. You can get that. A lot of people prefer to use those because you can seal it in properly. My problem with that is you've got to drill a massive, whopping, great big hole all the way through the floor of the van, and you know, through the metal floor of the van as well. It's just a huge, whopping, great big hole, rather than 3 small holes that I'll show you. So first thing I do is I put this down here, remove these slats. So I'm hoping it's going to be able to sit somewhere there. Now I need to get a tape measure and measure where it's going to be, go underneath the van and see if I can get the pipes out where I want it. It's very difficult to try and get this exact measurement underneath the van. Mark a couple of dots where you're going to drill these holes, and also offer the heater roughly in position so that you know you've got enough space for the ducting, which is going to be here. And also this intake needs to have a fair amount of space to draw air in, otherwise you'll get an error code pop up. Now, in the interest of showing everything, things don't always go to plan. I have decided when trying to find holes for the pipes to come through that this spot here is not ideal in this particular van, because there is a metal pipe, metal support channel that goes underneath the van, so it's not great. So I'm thinking about putting it behind this toilet there, but because the toilet is so close, even though this casing doesn't get too hot, you can still touch the casing. It's still probably not a great idea to have it directly behind the toilet. So I'm going to make some modifications to my sofa. So I'm going to move this upright along to about here, so the toilet can come across, maybe just by this much, just so that the heater won't be so directly behind the toilet. And underneath the van, along the back here, there is plenty of space. It looks for the pipes to come through for the heater. So I'll be right back once I've finished modifying the sofa. Right, I've modified my sofa. I've moved all this sort of stuff, left a bit, enough space there for the vent, for the heater to come out. The heater is going to be going sideways where that base plate is. And there's space here for the toilet, either facing forward with storage down the side for like loo rolls and chemicals and things, or if you turn this toilet sideways, then you'll be further away from the heater. Right, so that can be the most difficult part of the job, is just finding a good spot for the heater to go where the pipes have the pipes can go through underneath the van. That's quite often the most difficult part of the job. We finally got there. Not in my ideal location, but it's close enough. It'll be absolutely fine. Right, now they're getting the hole saws out. These hole saws are well and truly used. So that is 2 holes to outside the van. Now what I do, in the center of these 2 holes, mark a little dot, and we're going to cut a hole that size out of the floor only, not all the way through. The reason why we do that is because the nuts and bolts that hold this plate on to here, they need to go in order for it to sit flush on the floor. These nuts need to go below the floor level. So yeah, I cut a hole out that size just through the floor. So you've got big hole in the floor, the van floor, 2 holes in the metal van, the floor of the actual van. Now there's going to be one more hole that I drill, which is, make sure I've got this the right way around. Which is this, which is the fuel line. So, now where's my pen? This is the one here. So say we're at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, something like that, on this hole here. Now then I use a 22mm 7/8 on that. So I kind of cut a hole out of this. That is for the fuel line to go through. At this stage here, I also try and clear away as much of the insulation away as possible, especially from the exhaust side, which is going to be this side. So yeah, I just sort of take a load of insulation out around where the exhaust is going to be, let that fall through the hole and pick that up later. Alright, it's a little messy with that third hole, but it's only scratched, so the next stage I'm going to do is paint all that bare metal that I've cut. So yeah, we've got the air induction pipe, we've got the fuel line to go through, and we've got the exhaust hole for it to go through. So we're going to give that all a file first. We're going to file it all off, make sure it's not, the edges aren't so sharp, and then we can give it a paint. Doesn't have to look pretty, just has to make sure all that cut metal is got a protection against the elements. Now you don't have to do this, but I cut out the vinyl flooring around the base plate. To install the base plate, use 4 nuts. Make sure they're nice and tight, not over tight, but the gasket has to be pinched. This is me realizing, maybe I should try something I've not done before. I quite often see online how people use the slot on the base plate to thread the cable for the fuel pump through. I've never done it before. I've always drilled a separate hole for it, but I thought, why not? I'll give it a go on this one. This was when I was figuring out which way the exhaust is going to need to go once through the floor of the van itself. So just holding it upside down, make sure, yep, it's going to go that way before I tighten it all up. Remember what I said about these Jubilee clips? Look at the comparison between this one, which is really thin, and this one. These are what I always get for the exhausts. Much stronger. Should be tight enough that you can't spin it at all. Now it may look messy and awkward, but fitting all the pipes outside of the van, as I've just done, it's far easier to do that and just thread all the cables and pipes through the holes. Ignore the fuel line and the pump cable. We've used another really decent Jubilee clip on this exhaust connection. On this I have used one of their cheap Jubilee clips. I tried to buy as many of these Jubilee clips as the shop had, but I've had to use one on the air filter, but you'd rather use the decent ones on the exhaust. This will hold the air filter on there for now. So yeah, I've got to zip tie this air filter up towards the front, and this exhaust I'm going to mount it to the sill just there. They usually come with an L bracket, but I will see if it comes with that. I'll go and have a look at the kit now. As I've mentioned, I always use the 10-litre tank supplied. But as the inspection cap is here, I've removed the twin seat. And I'm going to have a go at using the standpipe and tapping into the... Yeah, a bit scared about this. I disconnected the leisure battery before I took the seat out, which has got these seatbelt tensioners.
You're going to drill a hole 20 mil. No, the outside of that ring.
That here?
No. Further out. On the outside of that ring, in the tank itself.
Oh, okay. Alright, I'm with you. Put it on the tank rather than through the sender unit.
Yes, don't touch the sender unit.
So because there's not much room on this sender unit to put my standpipe, what I'm going to do is, if I can put this light on, might help, is drill a 20 mil circle with a hole saw on the tank itself and tap into my fuel tank that way rather than on the sender. So I've got to take off all 4 of these connections, unscrew the sender unit, bring that out, put my hand inside while I drill the hole to catch any dirt and debris that's going to fall in when I drill a 20 mil hole there. Yeah, pretty nervous about this, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So I removed all the cables and pipes, the fuel senders there. Just now messing around with the standpipe. Now there wasn't any space on top of here for my standpipe, so I'm gonna be drilling a 20 mil hole right into the fuel tank, just in there. Where's my hole saw? It will be in there somewhere. Ah! Look! This is definitely an experience. Oh well, we live and learn, don't we? Right, I've drilled my hole. Can you see in there? Turn the light on. And there's a hole right there, and that is where I'm putting my fuel standpipe in. Gonna make sure I cut it so that cut it a bit at a time. Make sure it's about 1 inch from the bottom of the fuel tank, so the heater doesn't dry the tank and we can't get anywhere. We end up with having to go take a walk to the fuel station. Right, so I cut a bit at a time off. A little bit, just kept going little bits until I've got to that, which looks really short, but it's actually about 1 inch off the base of the fuel tank. So I'll put this in. I'll show you what it looks like. See it in there? Quite tricky trying to tighten that nut, but there we go. Standpipe is in. So I can reconnect everything now. Might be worth, while it's all off still, I want to get this covered as quickly as possible, but it might be worth now getting the fuel line on here before all these pipes and everything's back on. Seems to have gone back together. You can see I've got to find a way underneath this floor and find the way for the fuel line to get below the heater, but that seems to have gone okay. I'll be thoroughly checking everywhere for leaks when we fire it up. Right, day 2 of this heater install. Man, how much longer it takes when you're filming it. 3 to 4 hours I can fit these heaters for when I'm working for people. Took me 7 hours yesterday, and I think everything's done except the electrical wiring and the ducting, you know, to guide the heat from the heater. So yeah, the heater is all down here. just the electrical wiring loom there to wire in, and ducting from here, which is going to go into this cupboard and out a vent here. Okay, so with the wiring loom, look, I've got dirty fingerprints all over the walls now from yesterday. I'm going to have to paint that again now. The wiring loom, got this obviously self-explanatory, this plugs into this. It comes with a tiny little earthing cable or grounding cable. You can extend that and go back to the batteries, or you can find a local earth point, ground point. I mustn't get earth and ground mixed up, for goodness sake. It's not an earthing point because it doesn't go into the earth. Oh, I know, it's a grounding point. Grounding point, earthing point in a van, it's the same thing. It means the same thing, it's different, yes, I know, but... Ooh. I shouldn't be a YouTuber. Shouldn't do it. Anyway, so yeah, I haven't got any ground points here, really. I haven't really got any, well... So I may just take it back to the... I've got to take the positive over to the batteries at the back of the van anyway, so I might just extend this. And this is for the display, which is also going on that wall there. So I need to extend this one and take all 3 of them wires to my leisure batteries. Regarding this little grounding point, something I've done before is, see these nuts here, these are self-tapping hex-headed bolts screws. I have put this grounding point onto I put a ring connector on this grounding point, and I used the screw that went all the way through the metal floor of the van as well, so that I've earthed it on there before. But it's not the best grounding point, so I'm going to take it back to all the way back through the wall into my electrical area. Very good tip now. So on the display, the cable comes out of the bottom. It would be better if it came out the back, but it comes out the bottom. So if you want to mount it on the wall with a hidden wire, you got to bend the cable sort of down like that. And so make the hole just here, just at the bottom. I'm going to make a hole for the cable to go straight through that wall. But they've got these massive plugs on. They've got these big plugs on, so I'm going to show you a good tip on how to remove these plugs. So you can just make a tiny hole to poke the little cables through rather than a massive hole for the plug. This is the plug, or the receiver if you like, the female, not the display. So the first thing you need to do is remove this yellow clip in the side. You do that by putting a screwdriver in here and levering it up like that. Take that yellow bit out. And then, oh, by the way, take a picture of the 3 cables on the back so you know which cable goes in which port. I've already done that. And then you need to, with a tinier little screwdriver, put this light on. A tiny screwdriver, you push these things. I thought it was down. Maybe it's different in different ones. Oh, there you go. Done that one. So it's quite hard to see. It's quite hard to see, but it's in there. There's a little something you have to lever downward, which releases the cable. So I'll try that on this one. That's the second one. And the third one. There you go, got the plug off. Now we've got tiny little cables, we can push them through a smaller hole. The same goes for the plug on the display. You have this little triangle thing you have to just carefully lever out. Very fiddly, but I've always had to cut these and then just solder them or splice them back together. But if you can carefully remove these cables, surely it's better. Alright, so I've decided rather than using this red cable that comes with the heater, I'm going to cut it the same length as, at the same point as this short negative cable, and I'm just going to wire in this, which is a twin core wire. I can wire that straight away through to my batteries. They're just using some simple connectors. I'll chuck a load of tape over them as well, just to make sure that they stay secure. Okay, so I have wired the positive and the negative to my fuse box, which is here. I still got to do a bit of tidying up on that, make sure that's nice and neat. Once all the cables are in, I'll like clip them all together and making sure that's all nice and neat. Got a little problem. Spent all that time faffing around taking all the little plugs off, which normally is great, but I've run out of cable. This is the cable that powers the display. It's not quite long enough to get along the back of this sofa and up behind this display, so I'll tuck all these down. So I'm gonna have to extend these thin cables. So I've got all this cable. It's a twin core wire. I don't have twin wire, but I want to test out this heater today, so I will go and buy some twin wire and do this properly, but for now I'm just going to wire this up to the display, and then that's it. We can fire it up and prime it, and hopefully it all works. Alright, all wired up. Let's see if the switch... Yeah, we got power. Alright, before I start fiddling around with this and showing you how to use this, let me just walk you through everything. So as you know, my fuel line comes from the inspection cap, just underneath that seat there. The fuel line goes underneath this rubber floor, which is quite protected. It comes out here with these cables. You can see the clear tube there. I'm going to wrap around some of that snake conduit around those cables. But the fuel line is clipped to that piece of wood behind the heater, and it goes through the floor in that corner. And it meets up with the fuel pump underneath the van. Again, file off all the sharp cuts, paint them. You won't see it, but inside that hole where the fuel line goes, there's a piece of gas pipe which protects the fuel line from scratching on the bare metal. Sorry I didn't show you that, I got carried away. The wiring loom's all pinned down with these P-clips. Positive and negative were attached to each other, but using a twin core wire that goes all the way into there. So that's all I've shown you everything in here. Let me go underneath the van out and show you what's going on underneath the van. I may clip this up a bit higher, but yeah, I'm going to clip this up a little bit higher just to secure that from bouncing around so much. Yeah, I'm going to do that in a minute with some zip ties or something. But the exhaust is there, pumping outside the van. Got the induction air filter, whatever you want to call it, muffler, zip tied over there towards the front of the van. And yeah, we've got... Yeah, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to sort all these pipes out now, actually. It was late last night by the time I did all this lot. Ready to fire up now. So I've undone the inspection cap just so I can check on all the connections there when it starts to prime. Let's do this. Alright, I'll show you how to set it up now. Okay, turn it on. We have power. First thing I'm going to do is set the time. What is it? 13:21. Oh no, yeah, that's right. Settings. Makes the digit flash. OK to select, up and down to choose. 13:21. Okay. Now they always come in P or hertz. I don't like to use that, so what I do is if you push the 2 up, it changes it to degrees. There we go. So that's the time. You hit the OK button, it goes through the options. You've got 16 degrees, you've got the small decimal point. Pay attention to that. This is the temperature in the van currently. You hit it again, you've got the large degrees dot. That tells you the temperature that you can set the van to. So we'll set it for 21 degrees for this test. Press it again, it's got your voltage. And then the E Oh, you don't need to worry about that, trust me. I haven't even ever had to touch that. You do get, I think you can go into all the settings on that. You do get error codes which pop up as E something. But you can change the pump speed and the fan speed and all kinds of things, but you shouldn't have to touch it if it all works well. Right, now I'll show you how to prime it. Bottom two buttons goes H off. If you hit up, you'll hear a tick. The pump will come on. You've got a little logo there for the pump. And I can hear it now. Don't know if you can hear it. Anyway, let me get my torch on my phone. We'll see if we can see it drawing out. Oh, there we go. Watch this fuel line here that I'm tapping there. See the bubbles? So in a second, you'll see it go through this pipe here. There it is. Can you see it going through there? I like to follow it. There it is. It's going through the floor now. And let's double check that got no leaks in here. Looks good to me. Let's go under here. Alright, so we've got some fuel in the filter. But it hasn't done enough yet. I like to wait until I see it go actually into the bottom of into the base of the heater. Back in a minute. Oh, by the way, I want to show you this. The fuel line came out of the seal. You can see it just there. There's a rubber bung there in the bottom of that seal. So I drilled a hole in the rubber bung so it protects the, and I pulled the fuel line through that rubber bung so it protects the fuel line. I thought that was quite a neat way of doing that. We're still waiting for it to get out of the other side of the filter, pump, sorry. The filter is pretty much full now. There we go. I don't know if you can see in that fuel line. There's a load of air bubbles passing. There's a few bubbles left, but it's got to the bottom of the heater. So as soon as it's got to the heater, I turn the priming thing off by hitting that down button. Okay, now we're ready to fire it up. Now, do not be alarmed if your heater smokes. They always smoke the first burn. Either over priming it or the mixture of the oxygen and the fuel in the pipe just burns off. But in about 10 minutes, that smoke goes and should fire on. So let's keep going. Okay. So we're at 17 in here. I've set it for 21. On, you press it once, you tap it for on and you hold it for off. There's on. Now the on process, there's a cycle to turn it on and to turn it off. You can see now the fan is spinning on that little display. It's a little glow plug, red light in there. You can hear the heater fan coming on. You've also got a little up and down arrow indicating air going in and out of the pipes underneath. You can hear the fan starting to make noise. After a couple of minutes, the pump will come on and start to slowly push fuel through. Now it will smoke. I'll go outside and show you the smoke. And we're right next to a wall right now, so usually the wind, if there is any, will blow it away. Okay, the pump lights come on again and you can hear the pump ticking at this speed. Oh, you can hear the heater starting to fire up. You can hear it struggling for fuel because it hasn't got it yet properly. There's still air in a few air bubbles in the pipe. And it started to get warm. You see this little green dot in here? This will build up all the way to the max. You've got 2 green, 2 yellow and 2 red dots, and it builds up to show you the current temperature. To show you the heater warming up pretty much. Fan speed is kicking up. Two, 2 lights on that bit now. Let's go and see if it's still smoking. A little bit, starting to clear. 2 yellow dots. We've got warm air. First burn, I would suggest giving it about half hour to an hour. A good first burn. Keep checking for leaks. There you go, you can see I've got all the bars now. The heat is up, that means the heat is up to temperature. Very hot air. At the moment it's all still stone cold at the moment. We'll give it half hour and come back. We're currently at 19 degrees in here. I've set it at 20. When it gets to its set temperature, then the heater goes down to its quiet mode. There's 2 modes. There's full power of the fan, and then there's quiet. As soon as the van's got to temperature, it goes down to its quiet mode. The pump slows down, the fan slows down, and it goes much quieter. So it's nearly there. As soon as it's there, it should. The thermostat is on this little display, I believe. Could be wrong on that bit. It's reached its set temperature now. You can already hear the fan slowing down. It's getting quieter. Important information. These displays are always on. Always on. As soon as you wire them up, they're always on, unless you wire a switch to them. Now you can wire a switch to the red cable on the back of the display, I believe. I haven't done this bit myself, so don't take my word for it. I believe if you want to turn just the display off, on the back of the display there's a red cable. You can put a switch on that. I haven't done that in my van. I've put a switch on the main power line for this heater. So when you switch the heater off from that switch, it switches it completely off. It does mean you have to reset the time every time you switch it on. But very importantly, if you do that, make sure you let it do its turn and off cycle. Do not kill the power to the heater while it's still red hot. What happens is when you turn these heaters off, the fan noise speeds up and it blows all the hot air out of the heater before it switches off. If you kill the power instantly, it doesn't have a chance to do that, and it will melt. So make sure you let it turn off fully before you switch it off and kill the power. Really make sure you let it to do its turn and off cycle before you kill the power to it. Right, let's turn it off. It's been on for half hour, 40 minutes, so I'm going to use the controller. Most of the time these controllers come paired with the display that it's sold with, but if it's not, you can pair it. I don't know how to do that. I've never had to do that. So let's see if my controller is paired. I'm going to hit the off button. Off. Brilliant. Now the fan speed turns on, blows all that hot air out before it finally shuts down. And you can watch these dots get down as the machine gets cooler. It gets down to about the first 2, and then the fan will cut out and turn off. One more thing to show you is the timers. You have 2 timers. So you go through, that's the temperature in the van, that's the temperature you set it at. Alright, if you hit this settings button, you can change the time, but we'll leave that as it is, so we're just going to OK through all that. And then you have 1 off. This is a timer, so if you did on, you can then go through and choose the exact time you want your heater to come on. Oh, they've changed it, haven't they, for this one? You used to have a time that you turn the heater on, and then a time that the heater would turn off. Okay, so in my van, I set the time that it comes on, but in some of them, like this one, they're sort of countdown timers, so you have to set how many hours from now you want it to come on. So if you go to bed and you want it to come on in 7-8 hours or a few hours, you just select. So yeah, it's a countdown, so you just choose how many hours from now you want it to come on, and then with number 2, how many hours from now you want it to go off. So yeah, I don't know why they changed it. It's so much easier to just set the time for it to come on and time for it to go off, but anyway. So that is pretty much how I install Chinese diesel heaters. If you want to have a look at my other videos, I'll leave a link in the description down below, or put a little card up there. You can go and watch that video if you want to see some more tips and tricks, or I think I've pretty much covered everything in this video though, except the fuel tank there and how to get that all plumbed up, but I do show that in my other video, so yeah, go and check those out. Very long video. I'll be amazed if anybody has stuck around till now. If you've stuck around till now, till the end of this video, put a thumbs up or something in the comments. Let me know you stayed to the end. It'll be interesting to know how many people actually stuck this video out, because it is a long video. Alright, well, I think I've covered it all. If not, I'll see you in a second. If I have, thank you for watching. Yeah, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next week's video. Alright, bye bye.